You're on the mountain. That's not the haulage route. Have you got that on camera? Stop shouting at me. Well, you can't hear that.
Mary Kerr-Duff has resisted Shell since day one.
We can't compromise. If I could compromise, I wouldn't be here today. Our lives are at risk here, our community's at risk. They will destroy our whole community.
In what way?
Pollution, environmental damage, health risk, our health and safety. We would have to live in fear for the rest of our lives.
This is the haulage route that you let them start as well. You make a note of the next meeting. And you get paid to do it.
We know Shell aren't designing to put in a pipeline that will blow up, but human error, tragedies happen. It's not after they happen that you should be talking. We want to prevent that. We have a duty as citizens to protect our community. I suppose this is into the 9th, 10th year. It's been a struggle every day since against a multinational company with the power of the state fully behind them.
You mustn't travel the upgraded road that they paid for.
Go out, smirk and go back to your own place and have a big pipeline coming up through your field. How you like it?
In particular, it's Mr. Gill's duty.
Oh, I would definitely believe the pipeline is very safe. Let me give you an example. If you do a risk analysis of the pipeline at Corrib and you compare it to the chance of getting struck by lightning, say, you are probably 100,000 times more likely to be struck by lightning than you are to have an issue or an event occur with the Corrib pipeline. So you asked me would I walk on a Shell pipeline? Absolutely. Would I live near one? Absolutely.
One of the most respected figures on the Erris Peninsula is outspoken local newspaper columnist Father Kevin Hegarty. 14 years ago, he edited the clerical magazine Intercom. For raising the issue of child sex abuse in the Irish Church, he was sacked from his post and banished to North Mayo. From his exile, he continues to speak up for his principles and his faith.
I would say myself that it was very important that we had questions at the start. It was very important at one stage we had protests because initially the community was treated in a very cavalier fashion. You see, people do accept that the original questions, the original protests have helped to make the project much more secure and safe. People are convinced of that. They also know the original questioning and protests have helped to ensure that benefits are flowing into the region.
Since 2006, the company has bowed to political pressure, environmental concerns and judicial directives. The gas pipeline has been rerouted. The nearest home is now 140 metres away. The original design pressure of the gas flow has been halved. Shell claimed the process is safe and will not disrupt the natural harmony of the landscape or threaten marine life. Tapping the Corrib Gasfield is transforming North Mayo. Unlike the rest of the country, Erris is booming. There are 1,200 workers on site with good money to spend.
This development is one of the largest projects, it's the largest of its kind in Ireland, and it's definitely the largest project that ever hit this area.
Former Fianna Fáil councillor Pádraig Ó Cuspóra lives near the route of the proposed pipeline, outside the town of Bangor Erris. The popular retired teacher is a champion of the Shell project and the front man for the local pro-gas Mayo group.
I suppose if you're to look back in history, we have been ravaged through the 60s, the 70s, the mid-80s with unemployment and emigration. They were the two big factors. Families were split up, they were decimated, football teams couldn't get a team together. Local communities would miss valuable talents, and when this project came along, most of the community leaders would have welcomed it. There's 900 million being spent in the area, and fellas are having a few drinks and they're having a meal and they're enjoying their time while they're working here. They're working very hard, I might say, as well. But they're generating a huge spend locally while this is in construction. And the 130 permanent jobs that will be there for 25 years, they'll be spending locally as well, and they'll be adding to the area.
The only definition of progress is to rip everything up and cover it in concrete. You know, and that's how what I continue to call the shits in suits view progress. My implacable resistance to Shell is based primarily on the integrity of place. This place has a historical continuum of at least 5 millennia. I mean, you've Cager Fields down the road. Talk about now becoming a World Heritage Site. For me, this particular place here is a place of divine beauty. But there's a progress of civilization that you continue a continuum, if you get me, which has sustained people over generations.
The only way you can maintain an utterly pristine environment in Erris is by removing every person from it and turning it into a natural reservation. But I do believe myself that overall, I think the Shell is committed to treating the environment sensitively because they know this project is being watched right throughout Europe. And like, just because they're multinationals doesn't mean they're not concerned about the environment.
Those of us that are in favour of the project, we're not just in favour of Shell or any other group, we're just in favour of the project, we're in favour of the possible employment, and we're also in favour of a cheap source of energy for our towns and cities around Mayo and around Ireland. A reliable source of energy and heat is something that every country looks for around the world. It makes us independent. Currently, we have massive pipes transversing the Ukraine and places like that, and the supplier at the other end can cut off a pipe anytime and leave us in the cold. So you might be in the middle of frying your rashers and all of a sudden you have one cooked and the other one not. So that's if you have two.
Currently, Ireland imports about 95% of their gas. This project initially will supply Ireland with about 60% of their gas, which is very significant. So the Corrib project, I think, is an excellent project for the folks here locally. I also think it's an important project for Ireland as a whole as well.
Glengad Beach is now the site of an epic struggle. If Shell make landfall with their pipeline this summer, the game is up for the objectors. But if the combined battalions of agitators stop Shell in its tracks again, the whole enterprise is jeopardised and billions of euro will be washed away. This summer, all eyes will be on this stretch of strand in North Mayo.
It is a case of no pasaran on this beach, because this beach, again in military terms, is the beachhead that Shell has to get. It has to get control of this beach, and there's an awful lot riding on it.